The bigger they are, the easier they are to paint.
Pocket bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to paint one of the hardest things about vehicles, and that's treads and weathering. It's actually very easy to do. And Kenny from Next Level Painting showed me this trick a long time ago, and I've used it on basically every tank I've painted since, and I've saved so much time. Now, before we get into the actual video itself, I did want to mention that the meat and potatoes of the video are basically repurposed from a older stream we did, and the quality is great and it's been edited, so there's no time wasted. But just keep in mind, there might be a few distractions around the edge of the screen because the live content was a lot different from our kind of pre-recorded content here for YouTube. But it's really good stuff, and it's a tutorial that I never did separately, and I haven't really painted any tanks since, which is probably going to change because I'm going to need some Rogel Dorns painted up here soon. So instead of waiting for all that to happen, I was just like, hey, why don't we just go back and use some of this old stuff, and I'll show some of the new stuff that's part of it, and we'll all kind of learn something together here, because I actually figured out how to do this without the airbrush. So there is a way to do this very simple technique to weather your treads, weather your tank, make it look really good and not have that kind of blocky look that a lot of vehicles have, where it's just like rolled off the assembly line and they look like everybody else's. So I really like this technique, and I've used it, like I said, for pretty much every vehicle with treads I've painted since then. So let's jump into it and see what you think. Let me know in the comments. So like I said, in this video, we're going to go over how to paint tank treads and basically weather your tank at the same time. And don't worry, you don't have to paint the bottom of your tanks. Why waste time when you have a whole armor line? And obviously these were painted up for Deathcore Creek. And now a few years ago, which you're about to see the actual footage of, I wanted to paint up some of the new Forge Roll flamethrower tanks, which don't exist anymore. They're just normal Hellhounds, which is fine. I don't care. I just thought they looked way cooler than the plastic ones. It was really all I cared about. And I think I still run these in my list here. Now, I did want to mention, so the colors I use in here, I go over everything. But that being said, this is kind of the end product, because you don't really get to see the actual end product. And we'll have some images for you too here at the end and things like that. But you can use this technique, like I said, literally everything. Doesn't matter. Space Marine tanks is fine. You can use it on, Lehman Russes. Same principle, same everything. Just kind of follow the guidelines that I go over here in a few minutes. And it scales up. Like, you can use it for a Baneblade. You won't have all that weathering all around the treads, the open exposed treads. So you have to get a little creative to where you put your weathering on the tank, kind of like we did here. Just kind of some natural places where people would sit, there would be steps, or maybe just where water would naturally kind of collect over time, because a lot of these tanks are pretty old. But then you can see from the side, like, let me hold this because it's all modular and I can switch it out to be any version of it. It gets a little bit more noticeable with the dirt and the grime. Obviously been doing some trenching here, some trench crusading, so to speak. So this, like I said, this is very easy to do. You can do it with an airbrush, or you can do it with just some rattle cans. Like, I did something kind of similar here, not as in depth and not as like dirty, because I just kind of wanted a light kind of deserty sand look, but not like that blown out tattoony kind of thing, for my Star Wars terrain here. And I basically did the same thing with rattle cans. I just, instead of coming in with the airbrush at like a 45-degree angle, which I'm about to show you, I did the same exact thing from a black primer, which you can see here. I just went around the edges and went in here, just kind of hit it at a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to go back and dry brush it. But in this instance, you would go back and you would hit it with a little bit more black, or you could hit it with just a dry brush of black to get that final weathering step in there that I normally do with the airbrush, which I'm about to show you. So whether you want to use or invest in an airbrush, I understand, they are expensive. It takes a little while to get good with them, but there's resources here on YouTube to get you all of that. We have a video on here, but I would definitely recommend Kenny over at Next Level Painting. He's super good at it. I pretty much learned everything from him. I guess I might have even been his first student way back in the day. But even with rattle cans, you can do some really cool definition and things depending on which way you hold the model and the angle at which you're spraying. So don't be discouraged because you don't have an airbrush or you don't want to invest in the airbrush. There's no airbrush shaming here. I didn't want to bust out my airbrush to paint all these big blocky pieces of terrain. And there's definitely an argument to be made for that. But when I'm working on tanks and stuff, I do like to use my airbrush. But I get where it's not quite for everybody. So let's jump into the tutorial. Like I said, there might be a lot going on, but the content is there and the footage is there and the tutorial is still very rock solid, and I use it today on all my tanks still.
All right, I got the new airbrush hooked up here. Hope it's working. We gotta send off the that ultra. Yeah, we're good. All right, let's get some black in here. So it's time to cut back. Time to do some cutbacks and do some sponging. I did all the boring base coats, but you're gonna like this here in a second. Let me just load up some black. So black is the kind of the color. I was afraid of black when I was learning how to airbrush. Kenny was always like, yeah, you just gotta cut it back with some black. I was like, it seems like that would be really dark, dude. He's like, nah, you just gotta do it. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense. But I was using that Iwata for the longest time, and I really think was not using it correctly. I think I just had a defective one for the longest time and didn't even know it. Because my painting suddenly got better when I got a new one. But I didn't know any better, you know, starting out. We didn't have all these YouTube tutorials. We had a Kenny, and we called Kenny. I can't get it to work. I don't understand. That's how we learned how to airbrush. What's going on with my matte black? There we go. So black's kind of your secret sauce, your creamy Italian sauce. If you can wrestle the recipe away from one of those busboys for your own personal use at home, well, this is your secret sauce right here. All right, so we just loaded up some black and some flow improver in there. Let's check it real quick. By the way, I don't think I ever showed you guys this. This is kind of cool, a little feature of the Infinity airbrush here. Check this out. So you've got this little stopper back here, and it's kind of cool because you can kind of tighten it. Where is it? Oh, I guess you can't see it, but it's got this plunger, and it keeps the needle chuck. Let me see if you can see it here. It can keep the needle chuck. Yeah, there it is. See, it's already it's all closed next to it, and it can keep the needle chuck from being depressed back so far. So if you push it, well, anyways, there's a way to push button this to make your lines all uniform, and then you pull it out. You pull it back, and I don't know if this is exactly for us as miniature painters, but more for traditional artists. But it's a cool little feature nonetheless. All right, so we're gonna turn. So we got about 30 psi here. This is all the way off, so we're gonna go a couple cranks right there. Check our mix, make sure we're nice and watery, because at the lower psi's we want to be pretty watery. I started using this not that I ever used it before, but I realized that I was putting ferrules in here when I was using buster brushes, and the metal was actually scraping against the side, against the pot. So this one doesn't, it's just hard plastic, so hopefully that isn't as bad for it. If you're wondering why I changed up my brush, well, now you know. Okay, I think we're ready. So let me show you where we're at here. All right, so we did a little bit more work, and I forgot to matte coat it, so I got to handle it very gingerly. This is kind of where we're at here. I went ahead and primed the turret because I didn't like the look of the square turret. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this in red. So I hit it with some of the Army Painter Dragon Red and attached this back on. It's just got a little blue tack right there. So I attached this back on, did a couple cutbacks with the darker color. But at the time, I knew this was going to be darker, so I kind of wanted to keep it darker than the rest of it because we're going to add some black in here and start cutting all this stuff back. So that's kind of where this is at. turret wise. And then we've got all the work we did yesterday, just like we left you with, but we added that Harvest Brown, from Reaper, which is, I mean, it's kind of like an ochre, whatever you want to say. It's the Reaper Ocarina of Brown, but this is a really good color that's very hard to find. I haven't found it yet anywhere else. And this is just great to mix with black. You can mix in the orange brown. This stuff's great. It's hard to find, but once I think Miniature Market actually carries it too. I gotta reorder some here soon. It's on my list of reorders. So we just went kind of fat and just hosed down all the tread work, all this stuff in the back. Got up underneath here, all these treads, and I really tried to keep this area dirt free as much because the red and the turret would kind of conflict, so we needed a contrast right there. So it all kind of worked out. So this is kind of our Buster weathering that we're going to start on here. This was super boring. It took, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes to do and kind of get all the angles, you know, get in between all the treads and everything, just to make sure we got a really, really nice solid base coat right there. Just check all the angles and make sure we duplicated it on each side as much as we could. And of course, we didn't paint down here because why waste time, right? So we showed you how to do this metal last, last stream. Just nice and easy, nice subtle fade. Just working it up nice and easy right there. It's a little wet, but that's okay.
Yeah, what can you
There
do?
we go. Now starting to get in some cracks. And work around up here. I think, you know what, let me throw a glove on. If this was sealed, I probably wouldn't need one, but I forgot to map code all this mess. We're running naked through the airbrushing wilderness with our models here. So we're just gonna kind of get in here and just work. Think of it like a natural shadow for the most part. You know, this is the funny part. This was the very last thing I bought from Forge World. I ran that article where I was like, hey guys, I think they might be planning on raising their prices in a few weeks, because they kind of made that like announcement that they were gonna warehouse stuff here in the States, and I was like, ooh, that might not be good. So I went ahead and just made an order, got a few things, and this cast is terrible, absolutely terrible. Yeah, making this look good. So this is kind of the reason I'm starting on this one and not working on the tank right now, is because it's gonna sit on the back of the tank. So I'm really just gonna kind of use this to set the tempo and the tone for the fading throughout the whole thing. Light pressure really produces good results. So this is looking good. I'm pretty happy with this. I feel like we'll put a fuel gauge up here. Now this has kind of made me mad because I did this, I chipped the paint. So what I might try to do is just make it look like it's kind of burned out. And this is where it interfaces with the front, so I don't have to super worry about that, but we'll give it a pullback fade. And right here, we'll just get down in this crack a little bit. Now let's get this light down here a little bit. There we go. And we'll just get in between these little mini tanks. I don't know what those are. Some sort of grimdark featureness. All right, full throttle. Let's clean this out a little bit. Just get a little bit more running through it. Just kind of running things through real quick. There we go. Very fancy. All right, let's take a look at this. So, happy with that. Just the right amount of fades kind of everywhere. A little bit of dirt coming up from there. I'm just gonna burn this out all across the bottom and see, let that fade just go across the top right there. Just aim it at the bottom of the track. It's hard for me to show you the angle and get a good coat. Give me a sec. So you see that lip right there? You want to make sure you kind of get all that. There you go. Now it looks like kind of burnt earthy, and it kind of splattered up there and got it looking like the effect we're kind of looking for, like that dark to light dirt. And then we're just gonna kind of wait on the treads here in a minute. Let's see, what do we want to do? Treads will be up there. We can get in this crack. I think I'll do the treads last because I'm gonna have to have something to hold on to. And get that fade. Something like here. Definitely go in the middle. Kind of burn that out like that, and then get this corner here. Feel like that's good enough. Hold on, let's put this. That's why it's important to have this one done, so you kind of match it up. So probably do need to put just a slight fade right there. Something like that. Just very, very slight. You know what? While we're in here, I don't like these corners. I'm just going to shade them out real quick. Just come back in here. I like to get in the cut, so to speak. And get those areas that's going to be a little bit faded. Just without getting too much overspray. Just very gently shading out that orange. It's a little bit of a methodical process, but it's kind of fun. Just kind of working everything in there. High volume, low pressure. It's now your job. Oh, snap. Did you put that you were an airbrush artist on your application? Is that a thing? I feel like I'm not going to get this done. So let's show you one complete side. And maybe we could get, so we'll just come in here and kind of focus down on the tracks. This is probably how you should do it anyways. Like if you have a bunch to do, you just do one at a time. Track side, that is. Just kind of blow through it. I like to put a nice, thick. Actually, do I do it the other way? I think I come in from the sides. Yeah, because the mud's supposed to be on. I'll have to fix that. That's fine though. Normally you would do it, you would cut it in from the sides because the mud's gonna be on the top instead of like that. Yeah, that's not so like this right here. This is how you should do it. I'll have to fix that. So you should go in something like this. That's more like what it's supposed to be. Not that. Don't do that. Do that. Don't do as I do. The other cool thing is about black is you can just use it to kind of lighten up your gray in a lot of places. stuff like that, just to get it cutting back and looking good. I'm not going to do too much more work over here because now I'm going to have to come back with that orange. But as far as the red goes, red's pretty easy too. Should just kind of shade down towards the bottom. What was that? Neil Gradamus collected all the Pokénap Mons. Redeemed for a Big Baller Miniatures crate, I think, right? Boom, there it is. So we're just going to come in lightly, very lightly, hit the bottom here. So, kind of what we're going for. Let me get, I had to stop using it in between the air pressure because it seems to be messing up when I do that. Just gently shade that right there. And last but not least, gotta get your flame on. I think for the Leman Russ tanks and stuff, we were doing the sweet heats from Secret Weapon. But for stuff like this, it's just so easy to look good with a little black on the end of Harvest Brown. Boom. So here is sort of how it's going to look. So this is kind of how it's going to look. Nice and faded, super dark. This is kind of messed up here. But like I said, definitely going to fix that. And we'll glue this turret in place. But yeah, that's kind of our preview. So we're just going to come back over this where we did all the, well, it doesn't look like we cut back very far with the black. Gosh darn it. Faded out a little too much. Okay. So then we just slowly work the same color in. Now we'll flip it over. We're going to do two different colors real quick. I'm just going to grab our base. Nope, that's not it. Plate mail metal. Nope, that's not it. All right, with the little metal on there. Now, if you get too carried away with your metal, which I would only do metal on the tracks. I would do the Harvest Brown and a little bit of black. Get off me, fly. Why are you in here? I would do, like, right there, I went a little too heavy, right? The secret to cutting back that is go back over it with black. So I wanted to show you that I went back. I did a lot more cutbacks in black here over the gray. That's actually black. That's not a gray. It's just a really light and really light fade of black. All this is black, little exhaust black, some more stuff up in here, over here, and then we did all the contact points for the flamethrower tank. Some back here. So we just basically finished it up that we didn't quite do on stream. I'll glue this down, of course, when we're closer. Well, we're almost done, actually. I just wanted to do a little bit of sponge work and kind of show you where we're going to go with that. But that is kind of where we're at right there. And we burned out the tip of the heavy bolter right there too. So I feel like this is, like I said, very close to being done. We just need to do a little bit of green on the targeters. And I'm sure you know that color scheme pattern pretty good. But overall, I wanted to show you, I think we need to do some metals here too, but we'll do that here in a second. I just wanted to show you how this is going to work. So first you want to grab your metal. I like Army Painter plate mail. You could use, you know, whatever the G-dub equivalent is. So we're just going to get a little bit of pluck foam again. And pull that off right there. Now, if we have this much, we could actually use our fingers. But if you want to pluck it closer or you don't have enough, you might want to use tweezers if you want to get in really tight on something. So we're going to try it like this and see if it works. So we're just going to dab off a little bit of metal here. And that's probably good enough. We'll just test on a little area right here. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, so we'll just go in here, get all on the treads. Now, the cool thing about this is that if you go too hard in the paint with the metal, you can just come back with your black and cut it back. And it's almost like the natural like balance to anytime you're sponging on metal. Now, of course, really this is just to save you time, and so you don't have to like actually paint metal on all these treads, because that's just silly talk. That is 100% silly talk. And if you leave a stem on the back of your pluck foam right here, this will give you lots of control and lots of room to kind of work. And then you can hit it on an edge like this if you want to get in tight on something, as long as you got enough paint on there. And then we'll do the same thing here on this tank, because there's enough area where we kind of came in and cut it with the black and the brown, that there's going to be some spots where it wears off. So it's super easy to do. Just use your finger eraser and make it all good. So we're just going to hit these raised areas here. Maybe a little bit. Try to get some of them studs. This whole area you won't even see. And on the edge right here of the flamethrower itself, we can get a little bit. But like I said, we're probably going to come back with a little bit of black over all that. Okay, so then we'll grab another piece. So we're just coming back and kind of cutting some of the metal wherever it's a little too strong with a little bit of that black. We'll just hit some of this edging real quick, just to give it some depth. Okay, so there we go. We did all our sponging, we did all our weathering. I feel like I've web redeemed myself. I've got 2 more of these bad boys to paint. Don't ask me why, I just thought it'd be cool to have 3. So the color combination we're going to use for the viewports is going to be, of course, Iosin,
load letter
worked up, necrotite, and then probably a little bit of Flatch Gets Yellow, Longwick. This is the Kalinsky. And we'll bust out a little of this Iosin. This is really watery. I need to buy a new pot of Iosin. I special ordered one from one of the local stores, and he never got it in. Nothing grinds my gears like a game store special ordering me something, air quotes, and never actually getting it. So, bro, just tell me you're not gonna get it. Write it down at least. Give me a purchase order. Give me a order. If you like, I'll pay for it up front. Like, just tell me. Come on. Should I paint this fuel? I feel like that's a fuel gauge. Is it a fuel gauge? Maybe it's like an interface. Maybe these are the buttons. We'll do this. Slap down some glaze here.
Kinda wanna do an arm swap with my Valiant from time to time.
I feel like Darth Vader just came in from the toppest of ropes. Maybe the catwalk. Perhaps the catwalk above the ring. Like some sort of epic WWE stunt. Darth Vader. Holy cow, man. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. Enjoy the cat naps. And I guess nobody go anywhere, because we'll have a couple of fat stacks to give away here in a second. Let me finish throwing down this glaze. Yeah, chives. Yes, that escalated quickly. So I actually fortunately I magnetized the my 2 Dominus classes. I wasn't going to build 2 of the frames. I was just like, you know what? I'm never going to build 2 of these. Let me just like magnetize it. It just seemed more sensible. Yeah, Brick just killed a guy. Where did you get a grenade from? I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You might want to lay low for a while. That's Darth Thrower right now. Magnets are always sensible. It's true. It's true. Yes, Gary the Fat Man. Quite possibly from outer space. Yes, that escalated quickly. Indeed. But in a good way. In a good way. Okay. So we got all our glowy effects done. I'm pretty happy with this. I only have 2 more to paint. Yay! But there we go. Boom. Almost as good as the ancient Chinese master himself. I might have shamelessly stolen this paint scheme. He's never done a tutorial on it, but that's where I got it from. I was like, hey man, you remember that Death Corps army you painted? How'd you paint it? It turns out he was just like, these grays and stuff. And I was like, but I knew what paints he had at the time, because between him buying out this paint rack, this G-Dub paint rack, and me actually selling him the paints in the early days, I knew exactly what colors Kenny used. Nowadays, I couldn't even tell you. Kenny's on like some sort of yogi mecha, I don't even know, extra. He's like on a higher painting astral plane. So there it is. We did it. Yay. Air horns for me. Only took 2 weeks. It's crazy how people can pick up the hobby these days and like within months already be like head and shoulders above anything I ever experienced as a hobbyist starting out 30 years ago. You know, like it's crazy. Just the amount, just the technology level, just watching tutorials and all of the different effects, like from, you know, flow improver to washes to glazes to all that stuff out here. Like it's a lot easier to really get into hobby and paint now. It's really cool to see. And, you know, we try to keep up with all the new techniques and the dope.
So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching an oldie but a goodie from past Rob over here now to future Rob. I guess I'm future Rob now. On how to weather your tanks and how to also weather your tank treads all in one go. And I think I think it's a great technique. And like I said, it's very, very useful and can save you quite a bit of time depending on exactly what you're trying to do. So again, you can use it on any size tank here. Also, it's great to use something very similar, depending if you can match the sprays on larger things like terrain and stuff like that. So like I said, once again, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our future videos.